for the ball. When the crowd thunders, go Cats, we break the banner down. We know they'll play with courage till the final siren sounds. And the rival team will know that they've been run down by a pack. And you're beaten by, defeated by the Cats. In a cat attack, go Cats.
At home or far away, wherever you're listening to us, welcome to Round 1, 2026 of the Cat Pack, a podcast with four nuff-nuffs who just happen to love the Geelong Football Club. My name's Ronnie, the only Cats member living in Toronto, Canada. With me, activist, musician, and runner-up for Best Costume Design in this year's Oscars for his commitment to the Bunnings straw hat, Scott Darlow.
Thank you, Ronnie. And those who know me know that I did have a stage in my life where I wore a lot of straw cowboy hats in the early 2000s. I'm waiting for those days to come back.
None of them from Bunnings.
But the sausages, boys, come on.
Come on.
A 60-game veteran of footy and the runner-up for Best Drama in this year's Oscars for his last order at Starbucks, Simon Hawking.
Hello, Ronnie. Hello, boys. Yes, good to be with you. Hey, Ronnie, simple, long black. That'll do me.
Yes,
Like you, man.
also a long black man.
And the Cats' #1 fan, our favourite footy nerd, and the runner-up in the visual effects category of the Oscars for appearing awake through most of our podcasts, Mr. Marcus Holt.
Thank you, Ronnie. G'day, boys. I wonder at what stage you are going to run out of cool introductions.
Got an
Never.
endless
Marcus,
supply.
I do breakfast radio for a living. Never.
He never will. His ADHD will not allow it.
That's right.
Barely
It's
even
a
started.
bottomless pit of silliness.
And we love it.
We like to start the podcast each week with the impossible quiz question. Marcus, what do you got?
Well, boys, I'm branching out a little bit here. I've got 2 questions for you and 1 listener's question. So, first question for you, boys. We'll talk more about the game, obviously, but Fremantle kicked 8 goals 4 in the first quarter yesterday. That's the biggest first quarter score Geelong have conceded since when? I'll give you a hint because it's pretty broad. It was a grand final year for the Cats. So when was the last time we conceded as much or more than 8 goals 4 in an opening quarter at Cardinia Park?
Well, you know,
Second question.
I was going to say, if this was a Fremantle question, it'd be a very easy answer because their trophy cabinet is bare.
It is, sadly. Second question, the Cats came from 35 points down to win by 10 points. At what stage of the game was the last goal kicked? And a listener's question, what did the game yesterday have in common with the 2009 and 2011 grand finals? So that's just for listeners, and they can write or text in. We'll see if anybody responds. I know a couple of people have said, oh, yeah, I knew the answer to that quiz when I've asked stuff.
So you can
Well-
hit us up on email at thecatpack@myyahoo.com.
I have an issue with the listener question because those people from Nil are clearly going to cheat. All right? They're going to Google it.
No way.
They're going to cheat. Well, actually, to be fair, a lot of them haven't got the internet there, so then we should be right. All right, anyway, let's continue.
I thought we'd transferred our small town derogatory attitudes to Grafton this season.
Grafton.
Yeah, I'm in for
God.
Grafton.
Yeah, I don't like Grafton. Do not
No.
like it.
Jacaranda trees and sadness.
Mm. There's a lot of the mid to northwest, North New South Wales area that I do not care for, and Grafton is one of those places.
Not a fan of Mullumbimby?
I don't mind Mullumbimby. I've just been on tour, actually. I've just done 5 weeks of touring down the East Coast, playing a lot of those towns. And yes, very interesting.
Big enough, Scott. You play Coffs Harbour. You don't play Woolgoolga.
I played, yeah, no, that's true. I played, actually, the venue we played in Coffs Harbour was amazing. It was this pub that sits out on the coast and looks out over the ocean. And they had us out in the beer garden, and they packed about 1,200 people, and it was Coffs was good. Didn't mind Coffs.
I like Coffs
Mullumbimby,
Harbour.
is that one of those places they grow the fun crops?
I don't know what you're talking
the
about.
fun
Simon.
crops. No, that's Griffith, Simon.
No, trust
Yeah.
me, Mullumbimby's right up there. You know, my son and his family live at Mullumbimby, don't you?
Well, do they really? I didn't know that.
No, I didn't know that. No.
I did know that, actually. Well, I played on the same tour. We did a show at Brunswick Heads, which was not far from Mullumbimby, I think.
So
that's your neck of the
Marcus
woods,
gets
like
fun crop whenever he wants.
Mm.
Well, it's a bit south of my neck of the woods, Scott. Let's be honest, because it's in filthy New South Wales, not Queensland.
Oh, that's right. And your neck of the woods is just up and down flash strip, Cavill
That's
Avenue.
right. That's right. With my gold shoes on and my
Yeah.
white pants, two
And what-
sizes too.
And what a wonderful place. One of the most memorable gigs I've ever done in my music career. Probably 20 years ago, we were starting out and we got asked to play a schoolies gig week. A schoolies week gig. And it was in Shooter's nightclub on Cavill Avenue. And halfway through the set, the manager came and stopped us and he said, "Listen, we're just going to do something. Get out of the way." And the head of the Hells Angels rode a Harley down onto the stage and up the catwalk in the middle of Shooters. And
Right.
it was one of the greatest things I've ever seen.
Yeah, you don't
So,
forget
yes.
that sort of fun.
No, you don't forget that. It's just that's, and when I think of the Gold Coast, that's what I think about: Harleys, bikies, and shooters.
Yeah.
And Ronnie in a old gold pair of shorts as a meter maid.
That's it.
That's how Ronnie paid his way through uni.
Well, it's before OnlyFans.
I used to run a youth drop-in centre in Warwick and Perth, and we did an alternative nativity play one year. I played the Archangel Gabriel, rode into the church on the back of a motorbike with wings, rode round, and then I made the big announcement to Mary and went down very well.
I love that. If you were cool, Marcus, you would have ridden the motorcycle.
Well, I did. When I say
was
back
it-
off, I was
Oh,
riding
you
it.
were actually riding.
I
Yeah,
had visions of Marcus on the back of a Pee-wee 50 getting dinked.
Me too, except I had him sitting sideways like a little wife in Thailand.
It's just Marcus on a Perth tuk-tuk.
I like that we went a
Oh.
very short distance from the Hells Angels arriving in a nightclub to the Virgin Mary. We travelled a very short distance to connect those two dots.
I was sitting there hearing Marcus tell that story, just thinking, geez, we've lived different lives, haven't we, mate?
Yes, we
Oh,
have.
It sounds like we're stalling because the first quarter became reality, but thank God it didn't. A real nail biter, boys, and a great comeback story, 110 to 100. Freo looked good, but what do we think?
Well, I have to say, at quarter time, I would have put $1,000 on Fremantle to win.
Yeah.
They looked so good in the first quarter. They just cut us apart, and we couldn't get near them. And I just thought, oh, this is it. We are actually going to have the slide. You know, Geelong are not going to be the team they've been for 2 decades. I don't know what Scotty did at quarter time. And in fact, apparently at quarter time breaks, they usually go into their groups and then they come together for the coach's address. But he went straight to the coach's address, like he called them all together. And he must have said something because they came out completely different in the second quarter. The pressure, the chase, the tackle, the good football all started from there. So it was 8 goals to 3 at quarter time. After quarter time, we kicked 13 goals to their 6. So it completely flipped it around. It was a great game, but we didn't hit the lead until late in the last quarter. You know, they led all day. But for a few guys really standing up, we wouldn't have won. But yeah, it was a great win. But pretty stressful.
Back to that quarter time speech, though, he sure looked animated. He looked like he was giving them both barrels in that speech.
Well, what I liked about that was that the first person on the end of his bloody spray was Nathan Buckley. If you watch the, I watched the replay this morning and he went straight to Bucks, which is interesting because they'd obviously been in the box together. But have you watched the replay back, Marcus? Watched the game for a second time yet?
I watched the game, but I skipped through the breaks. And because you're at the game, you don't see the close-ups.
You watched the replay.
Yeah.
It was when I watched it back for the second time, which is how much of enough that we all are, that we've watched it twice already.
Hang on, Hawk, have you watched it at all?
I didn't watch it. I watched it once.
Nice.
Well played, Marcus. It didn't feel like we were getting beaten that badly around the ground, but every time they took it into their defence, into their forward 50, they scored. And that was the thing, I think, So they would have had hope at quarter time because they weren't actually getting beaten all over the ground. It was just seemed to be that their back six were just leaking goals.
It's really interesting you say that because at the ground on the day, it felt like we were getting murdered. But yes, you're right. When I watched the replay, I thought, actually, we weren't that bad. It was just that Fremantle took advantage of every opportunity.
They were only about 15 or 18 points up for most of that first quarter. It was in the last 5 minutes. It was in junk time, in red time, that they piled on some goals.
I was listening to K-Rock, and 3 times the commentator said, Geelong can't afford to give up a goal here. Boom, goal. Minute later, Geelong can't afford to give up a goal here. Boom. and 3 times in red time they conceded goals. It was horrendous.
Well, it's interesting. Look, we'll get to this. We'll get to this a bit later on, I'm sure. But there were some worrying signs for whoever is that backline coach, Sam DeConing, and I'm a big Sam DeConing fan, right? But there was a couple of moments where he just, and he's done it a few times since he had that injury where he had to come back around the face mask. He doesn't like taking contact. If he thinks he's going to get cleaned up, he just takes a short step. And he's done it enough times now that I go, oh, mate, you can't play full back and do that. Like, if he's going to do that, they need to put him at centre half forward or full forward, or because when he does that in the last line of defence, he gives up goals. And I like him. I think he's a really great player, and maybe that's why they've tried him in the ruck. Maybe they've gone, you know what, he's just got this psychological. And I don't think that he's that. You know, some footballers, you look like Mitch Edwards, who played his first game on the weekend, was fantastic. But you see, in the minute the ball hits the ground, it's like a bulldog. He's just got this streak of mongrel in him, and he wants to hurt blokes. He wants to jump into him when he wants to get the footy. Sam DeConing hasn't got that streak of mongrel in him. He goes out there and he's probably thinking, geez, hurry up and finish the game so I can go surfing.
Well, I wrote down that he just looks a bit sort of like he's not quite awake. He's not quite with it at times. He got caught yesterday a couple of times, made some bad errors, and Tom Stewart also, and Connor O'Sullivan, between the three of them, made errors that cost us goals early in the game.
Connor O'Sullivan was one of our best players for the day. I thought he was outstanding, by the way. But Tom Stewart, with him, I looked at him and I thought, and especially the second watch, I looked at him, I thought, gee, he's just lost a little bit of pace over the summer. And so now he's making errors because he hasn't got that extra nanosecond to make a decision with the ball. So he's just lost that tiny bit of pace, and he's going to start to look like he's making poor decisions, or his skills have dropped. It's not that. He's just lost a second of time because of his age.
I'm like an evangelist for AFL football here in Canada, boys. And one of my disciples, Greg in Edmonton, I got him onto footy, but I couldn't get him into the Cats. He's a Freo fan. Now, we all make mistakes. I get it. But he texted me, and the text read, so was that a case of never believe that the Cats are done until the final siren? Or was it a case of never have any faith in Freo? And I said, maybe a little bit of both.
A bit of column A, bit of column B, Ronnie.
Yeah. It's interesting you raise that point, Ronnie, because you could look at that game in both those ways. You know, there's a lot of talk pre-season about Freo being on the up and possibly being right up there at the end of the season. So if you're a Freo supporter, you'd be pretty disappointed in the result, given where they were in the game early. And given that they've had, I think Marcus, this is right, they've had a pretty good go at Geelong, haven't they, over there at Kardinia Park? They've got a pretty good record there historically, even when they perhaps weren't that good, you know, when they were an average side. So, yes, it was a curious game, a great win for the Cats to fight back. I doubted they could do it because every time they seemed to make an inroad and get a couple of goals back, then Freo would just keep a couple of goals and would keep that buffer. So it was really only the last quarter where Geelong won that possession battle. And it seemed the whole 36 players were from Geelong's half-back line forward, and then Geelong just wore them down.
I think watching it back, it was interesting. There was a handful of Cats players who just didn't stop. I really, really liked Jai Clark's game, and he probably didn't get a whole lot of the footy, but gosh, he attacks the footy hard. He makes good decisions when he gets it. He crunches and crashes packs. Jack Martin, go watch his game as far as his tackling and his pressure. Your boy's Hawk, Brad Close, needs to go and watch how Jack Martin plays that forward role. And, and I suspect once that Tyson Stengel comes back, and Chris Scott was on the record on the weekend saying that's not too far away. On current form, Brad Close is the one who'll go out for him. I think he had 4 touches. He was unsighted. But there was a handful of players who just were hard at it. I mean, Max Holmes was another one who just was brilliant all day, even when we were getting done.
Oh, yeah. He's my boy. Jai Clark, is that mustache new? Because there was a moment at the start of the game, I'm like, who's that guy? I don't know that guy. And then I recognized it's Jai Clark and went, your face is different. Did he always have roadkill on his top lip?
Yeah, he always looks like he's had some Vegemite toast, and he's just left a little bit there.
Good on him. He should run with that. There's not enough nose in footy anymore.
Yeah, I agree. He had a good game. And you know that of all of us, I'm the most willing to give some slack or some leeway to players. And so I've been resisting to give Brad Close a hard time or criticise Brad Close. But I agree. I was watching him closely yesterday, pardon the pun. And K-Rock said he'd been in witness protection and it
Mm.
was a bit like that. But I will say there were some moments in the third and fourth quarter where he just made enough of a contribution to turn a contest, put in a tackle, put in a chase, just did enough for it to work to our favour. But yes, he's down on form from what he was a few years ago. He's a shadow of that player, and yeah, I agree. He needs a break, and we need an alternative.
Here's a fella who's so good that we don't really mention him, but Brian Myers, I thought, had a great
Oh.
game.
He is a superstar.
Like some of those
Yeah.
kicks, they've like he used to. Whenever you say Brian Myers, the commentators would go, "Oh, he kicks funny, but it works for him." They don't say that anymore.
No.
He is some sort of godlike visionary that he can put a ball on a player's chest that you just wouldn't expect to land there.
I reckon, honestly, he would be in our most important three or four players.
I agree.
Because his ability to run between sort of half back and half forward and connect the ball to players. He's an out and out star. I tell you where I thought we really got touched up in that first half, and see what you boys think about this. We're still lacking that one big-bodied inside midfielder who can just get it out to the runners. I feel like we got really thumped at times in the contested footy. Tom Atkins was superb, but he was on his own as far as that inside midfielder role yesterday.
I think this is going to be a very contentious comment, but my naughty corner, skipping ahead,
Go.
is Danger. I think Danger. I don't think his body's there, and I think he's playing on because he loves it and because he's got the spirit, and for all those right reasons. But I think he's hurting us at this point because he can't play the game.
I was going to ask you, is he done? I don't reckon he's either not fit or he's finished. You know, and he's did a couple of those cameo things yesterday. It's really interesting, isn't it? I think if Ollie Henry was in good form and playing really well and playing that role, they'd have a much harder decision in front of them. You know, are they going to bring in an Ollie Wiltshire who's never played senior footy at the expense of Pat Dangerfield? No.
No, of course not.
But if you had a quality second tall forward, yeah, he's in a lot of trouble, I think, Pat. But maybe he'll get his body right and prove us wrong.
Maybe a bit less fishing and a few more push-ups this week.
I wonder if they should just say to him, mate, go away for 6 weeks, just run and swim and get your body right and come back after the bye.
Yeah,
you know, like we don't need him running around now.
Yeah, I'm not ready to give up on him.
No, I don't want to give up on him either. But Scotty's saying that
Marcus, let's be honest. We could have Ivan Milat playing in the forward pocket for Geelong, and you'd be like, "Look, I'm not ready to give up on him just because he's been hanging out in the Belanglo State Forest for the last 2 games. I'm not ready to give up on Ivan Milat."
Give him a go. Yeah.
That's you, Marcus, and we love that about you.
Ivan was severely underrated. He was good on both sides of the body.
Oh, stop it. Here's me thinking we won't have to edit this episode.
Some of your best work there, Marcus.
So the footy forums have not been kind. They've said that we won that game because the umpires helped us. I don't see it. What do you guys?
I haven't heard that at all.
Yeah, for Reddit was going berserk with it.
Oh, okay.
Well, early on, I thought we got hurt by a few umpiring decisions. In the last quarter, I thought we got the better run of it, and we got a couple of soft ones. I don't think it was the deciding factor by any means. I mean, Justin Longmuir blamed it on the fact that we played last week and they didn't, which, you know, that's clutching at straws. That should have meant they were, 1 week fitter than us and 1 week less banged up than us.
That's an odd thing to say.
No, that's garbage. That's garbage. You know why Fremantle lost? Because they came into the AFL in 1995, and ever since then they've had a loser mentality. They're a loser club full of losers, and they like to lose. And on the weekend they went out and they executed their patented style of AFL football.
It's so weird, Scotty, because some people think you're mean. I don't get it. I don't get it at all.
My kids come to me this morning. They go, "Dad, which teams? Let's go through all the teams. Tell us why you hate each team." And we had a robust discussion for about 19 minutes.
By robust, you mean you ranting
and hateful.
Correct.
One of the pleasing things last week was how accurately we predicted that Shannon Neal is indeed the number one linchpin of the forward line and reliable, and then perhaps Danger falls into that role of the decoy. So that's something to look forward to.
I put my favourite pair of shoes in the microwave and got some nice tomato sauce ready and ate because he was pretty good. He actually caught the ball and he kicked a few. He kicked 4. He was great.
He had a busy time on the weekend, Shannon Neal. He kicked 5 goals. He pretty much won the
Oh.
game for us. And he also found a bit of time to drive up to Costco, buy one of those pre-made humble pies, drop it around to my place in Keilor, and serve it up to me on a platter because he was outstanding. And
Yeah,
I
man.
take back everything I said in last week's episode.
Me too. Oh, me too. Me too. It's Zach Guthrie all over again for me.
Yeah, well, he was good. I've said this last year, but he just looks to me like a guy who lacks a bit of confidence, self-belief. Like he's got talent, he's got size, he kicks the ball beautifully, but just reading body language, you sort of get a feeling like almost like he looks around, do I really belong here? But I saw him do something that I thought, oh, hang on, I think he's growing in that confidence. At one stage, somebody had the ball out at half forward and he led and they didn't kick it to him and the ball ended up just going out of bounds. And I saw him going, hey, what about me? Kick it to me. And I thought, well, that's good. Assert yourself, make them know you are the target.
Go have a look at the replay also. In the first half when Freo were really playing well, they gave Josh Trakey the ball on a silver platter. Like they led, they had space in their 50 and they hit their forwards up on the breastbone. And we just continue. Even when we started winning, more often than not, we just put it on his head, So I think if we can figure out a way to get our midfield, and it comes back to that thing, I think, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think it comes back to that thing of we just are missing that one big-bodied inside midfielder to get it to Bailey Smith and to Max Holmes on the outside who can then have a bit of extra time to hit him on the lead rather than just winning a contested footy from half-back and bombing it in.
Yeah.
We don't serve Shannon Neal with the best delivery is what I'm saying.
And just on the subject of things we may have got wrong in our assessments last week, I don't know that any of us, and I certainly forgot to mention Footscray as perhaps a team that underperformed last year and should be the one on the rise. I picked who did I pick? Sydney. But Footscray, they look huge.
They do.
They do, but let's not forget that they've got enough coaching them, right?
Well, it's I think much the same list. I don't know how many recruits, how many they've changed on field, but yes, they should have. They underperformed last year. They should have done better with the talent they've got.
They have underperformed since they Stephen Bradbury to premiership a decade ago.
They did not Stephen Bradbury that.
Of course they did, mate. They scraped into the finals in 8th. They played 4 weeks of very good footy, but they certainly weren't the best side all year. Anyway.
No, I feel really sorry for Stephen Bradbury. Through the Winter Olympics, did you see he was prominent, of course, during the Winter Olympics and the promotion and all that. And he was on an ad. Did you see the ad? The ad was on quite often. I don't even know what the ad was for, but he had to make some kind of self-deprecating reference to him falling over. He said, I nearly fell over, but it was a reference to the opposition falling over. But here's a bloke who's won an Olympic gold medal and he's kind of been a bit of a joke. And I reckon he's...
Do you know what? I reckon taking it well and running with it has probably made him a lot of money.
Oh, yeah. Good
well, yeah, that's all he could do, isn't it, really? Yeah. But surely the number one thing is stay on your feet. But he was the only one who managed it.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he was in the final in the previous Olympics. So he had form and he had to get into the final. So, he's a good skater. Yes, he was a bit lucky that they all fell over, but he had to get to the final and he had to stay on his feet. Yeah. But it wasn't the first time he'd shown up. But I agree, the Bulldogs look very, very impressive.
You know who's fallen flat on their face, and I love it. Is the Brisbane Lions.
Yeah.
God, I hate them.
Who have they got next week?
Let me look.
Marcus, who have they got next week?
Have they got the week off like we do?
What I'm getting at is I'd love to see them go 0. I'd love to see them go 0-3.
Oh, that'd be delicious. Absolutely.
Delicious.
Absolutely delicious. Yeah, they got next week off like we do. So round 3 is the next game for them. And that's St Kilda versus Lions at Marvel.
Sorry, did anyone catch Max Holmes in the interview post-game and they go, next week you get the bye? He goes, do we? I thought we had another game.
No, I didn't say that.
Well, we have observed that he is a guy
living the cliche of week to week. He hasn't looked ahead. He hasn't looked ahead beyond to see what's coming up.
Simon, you had your hand up. What were you going to say?
Well, I think just in not in Brisbane's defence necessarily, but they've clearly played 2 very good sides, and maybe in the same way we gave Geelong a little bit of slack given that they were the last two teams, Brisbane and Geelong, to go into the summer break and therefore have had the shortened pre-season. So they may be a bit underdone. And there was that issue over the summer with Lachie Neale, and I think we mentioned that, we kind of touched on that briefly last year. These things can have a destabilising effect on clubs, so it remains to be seen whether they'll take a hit, but we all agreed they've got an immense amount of talent and they're not going anywhere anytime soon. So it'll be interesting if this is just a little blip to navigate. But remember, in the last 2 years too, they've had bad patches in their seasons. I think the first of the two premierships, they were quite low on the ladder for the first number of weeks of the season.
I heard somebody talking on the weekend on one of the shows, and they said, Brisbane, both the last 2 years they've won the flag, have not finished in the top two. They've finished fifth and I think third or fourth. And Chris Fagan's very much, and that's what the Brisbane three-peat side did 20 years ago. They came in third, fourth, fifth, but they timed their run well. So I don't think anyone up there's panicking at this point.
No doubt, just like Lachie
the
Neale,
other
they'll be
thing-
pumping in no time.
Well played, Ronnie.
It should also be noted that Brisbane were without Darcy Gardner, Hugh McCluggage, Logan Morris, Harris Andrews, and Zach Bailey. 3 suspended and 2 injured. So they were severely depleted.
Players.
Yeah.
Well, and also, I don't know if you know this, but Lachie Neale, he's been, distracted because he's doing rehearsals for Mormon Wives flat out during the week.
Settle down.
Oh,
He couldn't even
Sorry.
finish the gag before he started making himself
I know.
laugh.
love it.
I'd make a terrible comedian.
Let's have a look at 3 stars, boys. Who was our favourite on field in the game? 3 stars. Up first, Marcus.
Yeah, well, I'm spreading them. Shannon Neal, for reasons that we've talked about. That was a great game. Scotty, just look away for a minute, will you? Or mute or something. Sean Manor gets a star because at the start of the second quarter, he was the spark.
He was a
3 quick
beast.
goals. He was the one who got us going again. And I know he missed a couple. And the one he missed at the end was a shocker, but he wasn't alone there. But that, all in all, he was really important. And here's one you won't have heard of. The other star goes to a girl called Zali McGregor. She plays for Montrose. And I umpired Montrose versus Barwon Heads yesterday. And this girl is a star. Sometimes you just see a player, boy or girl, who just dominates, who just looks like a footballer. And this girl was sensational. I said to her afterwards, I really think I'll see you on an AFLW list in a couple of years because she was just outstanding. So Zali McGregor, you heard it here first, guys.
Nice.
All right.
Well
Nice.
played.
Nice.
Manor gets my 3 stars too, Marcus. I'm with you. Good pick. Hawk, who gets your chocolates?
Well, I split my stars, Ronnie, this week. I'm giving the first star to Freo for playing 2 ruckmen at the centre bounce there at one stage. This was something I don't think I've ever seen before. Now, I know one of the ruckmen is very mobile, but I thought, hang on, what? Am I watching this right? 2 ruckmen at a centre square. Ingenious. And one of the part of the star goes to number 4, the ruckman who wears number 4, because he's old school. Those jumpers are very unforgiving, and he's just got a little bit of guts. He's just got a little bit of guts under there. And I think good on Freo for playing. Sure, he's a country boy. He's got to be a country boy, come off the farm. And it's like, all right, son, get a bit of condition into you. But good on them for playing you in the first place. And also the little forward
That
pocket,
would be Sean
Dudley.
Darcy.
I learned his name, Dudley. He's just hiding a bit under there too. So good on the Dockers for having a couple of portly chaps playing for them. Ronnie, you are getting my second star.
I'm honoured.
Because you were very astute last week. I'm sure it was you, with your observation of the Chris Scott, Nathan Buckley dynamic. You were the one who raised it in the box first of all, and we've covered it just a moment ago. We spoke about the footage at the quarter time huddle.
Yeah.
And yes, I think there is something to that.
There's trouble in paradise. Sure.
Yes, I think Chris Scott, it's going to be very interesting to see how that goes through the season. I think Chris Scott might have the I'm the only sheriff in town type of attitude at the moment.
Have you ever had a dog and tried to introduce another dog into the house, and the first dog's like, nah, this isn't happening?
Yes.
That's what's going on. And Chris Scott's he's the head coach, so he's allowed. And we all have a hunch that Bucks is there for a year. So he's like, I'm sure Chris Scott's like, this is a favor to you, pal. So shut up and listen, and then go do the devil's thing and leave us alone.
Well, it was interesting observation. I'll be curious to see how it transpires.
It was the AFL twisting Chris Scott's hand over the salary cap stuff. This is all a big conspiracy theory. I've been saying it for months. Get around that theory.
You look great with a tin hat on too, Scott.
I know, thank you. Thank you.
Slimming.
I got my one final star, Ronnie and boys. Now you guys know I'm a fan of a number of teams, mostly the Boston teams, the Bruins in the NHL, and the Patriots and the Celtics, the Red Sox, etc. I haven't spoken so much about my old junior team, Templestowe, the mighty Tempe in the eastern districts. Maroopna, the Cats, of course, up in the Goulburn Valley. The Nil Tigers. Scotty's been down on Nil, but that's all fun and games. I know that, but I am a fan of the Nil Tigers out there in the Wimmera district because my grandfather Fred, who we've spoken about, played at Geelong, 1937 premiership player. He coached Nil in 1939, so there is that connection. This is the point I'm making, boys. I'm going to announce it here right now. I'm following a new team. I'm very excited about it.
Go on.
It's the Hawkingtown Hawks. I'm a little bit disappointed I'm going to be barracking for the Hawks, but it's the Hawkingtown Hawks. Hawking with an E. Okay, so this is in England, and I don't have an E, but my surname is derivative of that. They play in the Kent County League Premier Division, so it's about Division 5 or 6, something like that. But Scotty, I think they're going to make a Wrexham-style race year by year up the ladder. I've got a very good vibe. So down in the southeast, County Kent, down in the southeast of England there. I'm positive about them. I'm getting behind them. And in doing a bit of research, just geographically, I was looking into it, and they're very close to Hastings. Hastings is just down the coast, and of course, Hastings is a very famous town in English history. Of course, the Battle of Hastings, 1066, pretty much changed the trajectory of the history of England. And I was just doing a little bit of research. There's the commonly accepted version of history had King Harold at the Battle of Hastings killed with an arrow through the eye. It's never been completely definitive. It's just been the most accepted version of history. So I was just doing a little bit of a deep dive into, as I was looking through the recent history of Hawkingtown, and there's an alternative. Believe it or not, there is an alternative version of history that I uncovered, and it's growing. It's growing. It's got some growing support, growing momentum.
Apparently, are you going full White House press secretary on us?
I'm nearly finished, Ronnie. I am getting to the point here. Apparently, what happened, and I can well believe this because we've spoken about it recently. Apparently, what happened? King Harold was on his horse. He was hit in the helmet by a soccer ball, and he fell off his horse trying to draw a penalty. He turned to look for the referees, and unfortunately, they'd already all been put to the sword.
It's the longest setup for the worst gag I've ever heard.
I'm just telling you. All I'm doing, I'm just reporting the history that I've recently uncovered.
And welcome back
hell.
to the Cats podcast.
But anyway, go to the Hawkingtown Hawks.
Hey,
Scotty,
let's
3 stars.
All right, 3 stars got to go to Hawk for that history lesson. Let's get ourselves over to Hawkingtown Hawk, and we'll go watch a game. We'll go watch QPR.
I can't wait.
Go watch,
yeah,
and then you know what? We could probably go watch Tottenham play in the bloody championship because there'll be heaps of tickets for those games. Because they're going down. Their prices are down. All right, 3 stars.
No, I'm all about that. I'll definitely get over there.
Good boy. I'm giving 1 star to Mitch Edwards for a fantastic debut, having a proper ruckman in the side, and even though he's a first-year kid and he got touched up at times, he competed really well and he straightens us up. We look like, and having the luxury of Blitzavs on a wing, they've got to play. Every week he's fit and he can run, they've got to play him from this point on. Yeah. He was fantastic. Just back to the Sean Manor stuff, Marcus. I understand why he was very good. I know, let's be real. He was very good in that second quarter. Like, without his contribution, we don't win the game. My frustration with him is that his best is so good, but geez, some of his decisions later in the game, like he took a shot that was ridiculous where he could have squared it up and he burned a player, which he does all the time. That goal he missed right before the end that would have iced the game. Do you know what I mean? Like, I hate that you've got to put up with so much garbage to accept he's good. And at some point, the juice will not be worth the squeeze with him. But on the weekend, he was very good in sections. He gets no stars from me, though, because he frustrates me. So, yeah, Mitch Edwards, 1 star. Shannon Neal gets a star. And Chris Scott gets a star for being the biggest dog in town who can turn around to Nathan Buckley. Who, by the way, Nathan Buckley, my son looked at me at one point and goes, "Has he ever won anything, Dad?" And it was a serious question. Has he ever won anything?
Yeah, it's
Yes, he
fair.
has.
Fair question.
No, he hasn't. He won a Brownlow. That's an individual
Yeah.
thing. He
He's
was
won
an
a
assistant
Brownlow
coach.
and he won the first year. The
I know, but
there was
has he
some-
ever won as far as premierships and things that matter? You know.
Yeah, he's not alone there. There's some incredible players who've never won a premiership.
Well, I understand being a premiership player, that those of you that are not find it difficult to understand what it takes from us premiership players, right? So
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway.
He couldn't win
It's
a meat tray at the
understandable.
Box Hill RSL, I don't think. To the naughty corner, Marcus.
All right, I'm putting in the naughty corner the steward at the MCG today. I went to the Melbourne St Kilda game at the G, and first I got kicked out. They wouldn't let me go up top. That section's closed today because we're not going to have enough people. So I went down a level and I'm sitting there, and they come along and say, "Have you got a ticket for there, sir?" And I said, "No, I'm just a GA," but they wouldn't let me upstairs. "Oh, you've got to go around there." So I thought, all right. So I went round to the AFL reserve where I have a pass to get in because I'm an AFL member. And the bloke on the gate, he wasn't going to let me in. He took the pass off me, turned it over, looked at it as if it was some sort of counterfeit. And I'm thinking, what is wrong with you? I said, AFL member, 2026. And he still was,
Unbelievable.
finally, I almost had to wrestle it back off him. I don't know what went to his head, some sort of power trip. Anyway, really, really annoyed me. But anyway, I got in. And boys, that was a great game of football. A really, really good game.
It was.
Yeah.
So you're just like Lockie Neal after all, just flashing your member.
Where's the dump button?
Just shaking his
that,
head.
That one's going.
I said it.
Hawk to the naughty corner.
Yep. I'm going to be quick, Ronnie, just to please you. Just
I
to
don't
please
believe
you.
you. And the pause after it betrayed you.
Voss from the Dockers. He can get himself in the naughty corner, strutting around as a tough guy. And he gave one of those shoves that I can't stand. You know, he gave that to Jack Harry in the first quarter. And he really didn't do that much for them. So he can go in the naughty corner. Shannon Neal, we've spoken about him. I'm actually going to put him in the naughty corner as much as I appreciated his improvement. There's one thing I don't much care for, and it's kind of the flip side to what Marcus spoke about as a positive, which is acceptable as a good thing, but I'm putting him in the naughty corner. I don't like the negativity and the remonstrating with the teammates for not kicking it to me. And there was one in this case, Dunstall even made the point. The Irish bloke had it on the forward flank and Neil was even fading back to goal. And he was 70 metres away. There's no way the bloke, he was going to O'Connor get it to him. And he still threw the arms up. I thought, mate, you're not there yet. Put your head down, make yourself available, be the target, hit the contest, take your marks, and go about your business. You're not up to remonstrating with your teammates yet, because they could easily say to you, "Hey, if I kick it to you, you make sure you mark it, and then we're even." So he can just sit there momentarily in the naughty corner. And just finally, I think I maybe mentioned this last year, but Chris Scott's hair, he's got to have a think about that. I think it's time. This living in a cabin in the mountains, look, I think it's time he reviewed it and just maybe brought something new for us.
He looks 10 years older than his brother.
Yeah, the Grizzly Adams.
Well, he's had 10. He's had 10 times more. He's had 10 times more success. Can I just comment on a couple of those things there that you've brought up there, Simon? Firstly, when I was a kid, I saw a cat get run over by a car, and I saw the owner of that cat watch that transpire, and the look on that owner of the cat's face was the same as the look on Marcus's face when you said Shannon Neal was in the naughty corner. He looked shocked and angry and perplexed, and then I thought he might cry. That's the first thing.
All of those things are legitimate, by the way. Legitimate reactions, Mark.
No, fair comment too, Simon, about Neil carrying on like that. We don't need that. Yeah, naughty corner. All right, I've prepared this. Do you know that there's been 3 games already this year that the AFL have decided in their infinite wisdom that they will make completely ticketed, which means MCG games where it's always been general admission could go in. And back in the old days when we were young, you could just rock up and sit anywhere. And then they said, oh, no, GA, you got to sit up in the nosebleeds. Okay, fair enough. We're still getting into the footy for the cost of the. Now, so the Hawthorn Essendon game was fully ticketed, which meant you had to spend you've already spent your money on your club membership, which is not cheap. But now they want you to drop an extra 40, 50, 60 bucks on a seat. And they've done it on 3 or 4 games. The season's only, I think the season's only 13 games old. And 4 of them have been fully ticketed in nothing more than a desperate rinse of fans. On top of this, the same administration, Andrew Dillon, who's a lawyer, let's not forget he's a lawyer who runs the AFL, that muppet, has sold fans out because honestly, if you don't have the money for KO or for Foxtel, you're watching 2 or 3 games. You're not even going to see your team play this year half the time, especially if you follow North Melbourne or some cellar dweller, right? Like these scumbags, and that's what they are. Andrew Dillon, if you listen to the podcast, you're a dead set scumbag because you've forgotten that your role is not to own the game. Your role is to be the custodian of a non-for-profit sport. And all you're doing is freezing families out, you're pricing people out, and you're making sure that the next generation of kids are not going to love AFL footy like we do because they haven't been able to grow up while loving it and seeing it and attending it. So Andrew Dillon, you can get in, and whoever's made those decisions, you can go and get in the naughty corner, unless, of course, you're going to invite me to sing at something, and then you can take yourselves out.
with an
It
exorbitant
sounds like you're
fee.
locking him up in the basement, Scotty. You're going a step further than the naughty
Oh, mate,
corner.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I'm with you on the Saturday. No free to air. I mentioned that, I think, when we started up last year.
It's
That's
disgraceful.
an
It's
absolute
actually
disgrace.
disgraceful.
Because
It's
there are
disgraceful.
so many footy fans that can't afford. I mean, forget paying for KO. People can't afford to pay their bills and put food on the table. It is an absolute disgrace. You're right.
Well, look at you guys talk like you can't even afford a steak now.
Well, I put my money elsewhere, Ronnie.
But cost of living, I don't know what the petrol's like. I don't know what the petrol's like up there in Toronto at the moment, Ronnie. But I seriously considered robbing a 7-Eleven to pay for my petrol today. It's out of control. Cost of living, and I drove away from the petrol station having paid $2.30 a litre, and just thought, geez, how are you supposed to find money? If average families out there trying to find money for Foxtel and for $60 seats, and they're doing everything they can to kill the goose that lay the golden egg.
Awful. What do we think about the new rules for 2026? I have to tell you, I think I've been on the record last year for saying stop messing with it, AFL. I can't stand that they're constantly changing the rules. Do we think any of the rule changes are better? Do we like the ball out and between the arcs thing? Do we like? I hate all of it. Just leave the game alone.
It. Leave the game alone. I hate it. You don't need to keep speeding it up. You don't have to fix it. It's not broken. Honestly, it's been a great game for 100, 200 years, whatever it is, 150 years. Stop it.
Well, I'm going to take the contrary view. Most of the rule changes that they brought in benefit the game. We've wiped out the senseless violence of the 60s and 70s by being tougher and policing the game more. There used to be, I don't know if you remember this, Ronnie, but there never used to be a centre square. So you could have 20 guys around the middle, and it was just, and this was played in mud heaps, and it was an ugly game at that point. And when they brought in that rule with the centre square and said, all right, you can only have 4 in there at the centre bounce, it opened the game up. And most of what they're doing is about opening the game up, trying to make it go a bit faster, because one of the big complaints is the game goes too long. The first quarter yesterday went for 36 minutes. That's a 20-minute quarter, so 16 minutes of extra time. So they're just trying to speed it up. I've got no problem with the last out of bounds. It's not around the whole ground. It's just between the arcs. There was a couple of unfortunate ones where the ball ricocheted off Blitzar's foot yesterday and went out. Not intentional, wasn't a proper kick, but he was the last touch and it was a kick, so it counted. But I don't have a problem with that. The stand rule means you can open the game up. You can not have guys sort of crowding the mark, moving around, stopping you from being able to play on. There's lots of things about it. I know you guys tend toward the curmudgeon sort of leave the game alone mentality, but I think most of the rules are actually to the benefit of the game.
Simon?
I think you, like Marcus, you agree with the changes if you accept that speeding up the game is the right and best thing to do.
Yeah.
And we've spoken about this, and I can see where Marcus is coming from a spectator point of view, and we spoke at length last week about how we're changing as a society and the attention span, et cetera, et cetera. They've solved one of their own problems with the direct out of bounds rule, and that's because the interpretation of what was deliberate or what wasn't was an absolute mess. I mean, they just had no idea when to pay it, was it, wasn't it, and that it was just a disaster. So they thought, right, here's a solution. Let's introduce this rule. The one that I like the least, if I'm even remembering all the rule changes, I really don't like the stand rule. And the reason is, and it obviously speeds the game up, it's never, I would say in this perspective, it's never been easier to play the game and just get basically a free pass. I mean, that is just a free pass where you basically don't need to worry about the man on the mark, and you can just take the ball under no pressure and get yourself another statistic. Whether that's part of this discussion, maybe not. But I just don't like that a bloke has to just stand there. He just has to stand there and let the opposition player run past until the umpire says play on. And so often that guy with the ball is almost beside the bloke on the mark before he's allowed to move. I just reckon that's a bad look.
The reason they brought the stand rule in was because they wanted more one-on-one context. Because everyone was going, bring back the days of Lockett and Ablett and Dunstall where we had forwards kicking goals and we had one-on-one marking contests. Now, Kevin Bartlett at the time, and he was decried for it, but his solution, and he used to be on the Rules of the Game committee, Kevin Bartlett came out and said, no, don't do that. He goes, all you need to do is reduce the amount of, if you can have 100 interchange moves a game, bring it back to 20. Bring fatigue in. Bring fatigue in so that players literally don't have the tank to run up and down the ground all day in this running maul, and we might see a return to players playing more positional football. The other option they could have done was literally go to the VFA style and have 16 players instead of 18, get rid of the wings, which in my opinion would have been really good because, again, it would have brought more fatigue in. I mean, the truth of it is that I watched the West Coast Eagles tonight and they were abysmal. They've got about 10 players in their senior side who would not get a game at 10 other clubs, not by a long stretch. There's not enough talent for the 18 teams that we have, let alone the 19th that's coming in. So, there's much better decisions they could have made to try to bring in one-on-one football rather than just going, let's just swim to the bottom as quickly as we can and bring in a stand rule and bring in a kicked out rule, and then we'll just speed it up. We'll speed it up. We'll speed it up.
And to that point, Scotty, about the talent pool, part of the problem when we see what we consider a bad game is it's partly the coach's fault because of the obsession with speed, and it's partly the AFL's fault for the same reason, the obsession with speed. And the players, a lot of them just aren't good enough skillfully. They're not good enough to execute the skills at the speed required of the game now. And you see it all the time. How many times we see a missed kick and a handball under pressure because players don't have time because they're constantly being harassed. And that's when you get the lower teams, the less skillful teams, that's when games look terrible.
Yeah, at the same time, I think I marvel at the skills of players and the speed at which they make decisions and, the chains of handballs and the little, there's a guy running past and he then handballs and there's 3 or 4 handballs in a row and then they get free. The game is incredibly skillful. And yes, there's probably not quite enough, the top level players to go around, but when you watch the good players and the good teams play, it's something else. Here's a rule that they changed in the 60s, and it's been fantastic. Out on the full, you used to be able to just kick the ball out of the ground, and it was a time-wasting thing. There's the famous Ted Whitten commentary from the 1970 Grand Final. Hit the boundary. No, sorry, the 66 Grand Final that Collingwood, the St Kilda one, hit the boundary, waste time, knock the ball out. And they changed that rule and said, well, if you're going to kick it out in the full, that's a free kick. Fantastic rule. Stop that strategy and that tactic.
I've got to defer to Marcus somewhat here because when you can remember back to, when Hayden Bunyan Sr. played and drop kicks, and you've got that memory of all the different eras, Marcus, and you've seen the evolution of the game. You know, you've seen John Coleman play in the flesh, and you've seen Cleghorn Fogg play, and you've seen all of these luminaries, and you've got the whole puzzle to compare to, mate.
Marcus remembers when the Geelong Fire Hall bell was the thing that actually started the game, not the siren.
Oh, I was going to say Marcus was there the day that Tom Wills signed the first rule book.
There is
Yeah.
one part of the game I do lament, and it was from growing up. And there was a time I loved footy, believe it or not, and that's when I was a kid. And of course, I think every kid loves footy and thinks it's the best thing ever. And back in those days, and I'm talking through the, say, late 70s into the 80s, you just don't see it anymore. Great one-on-one contests. I'm thinking particularly centre-half forward and centre-half back, and full forward and full back in those eras where they had great full forwards
Yeah.
that in any given season would kick 100 goals, sometimes 2 or 3 full forwards would kick 100 goals. A lot of great fullbacks in those eras as well, and some really great champion players at centre-half forward and centre-half back. You just don't see that anymore because the game's just gone past it.
Yeah, the Danny Frawley, Gary Ablett matchup, or the, Peter Knights and Paul Vanderhaar, and, Wayne Carey and Glenn Jakovic. You don't see that anymore.
No.
And also, Hawk, you said all kids love footy. You know who doesn't? You know which kids don't love footy? Half of Australia, because they can't watch it free to air on a Saturday and they can't afford to go into the ground.
That's true. Yeah. So hopefully that's helping grassroots footy. They might go down to their local club and watch the local footy if they can't see an AFL game on the Saturday. That's the only shining light I can see out of that debacle.
Yeah.
All right, boys, time for a pivot.
Hang on. just to back you up here, that is John Coleman's autograph.
Look at that.
Did you take him out for a steak dinner when he signed that for you, mate?
I didn't get that in person. I had no idea. My auntie was a big football fan, and this is her autograph book, and I inherited it when she died a few years ago. And I had no idea, but I was visiting one day and she said, "Oh, yeah, I've got John Coleman's autograph." I almost fell off the chair. And she dug up this, and it's got, Jack Dyer and a whole bunch of other
Gosh.
old, champions of the game. And I wrote about it on a blog that I used to write. They lived in Leongatha, little town, more famous now for mushroom cooks. But the journalist from Leongatha's local paper was just, Googling Leongatha and saw my story, got in touch with my auntie, and they ended up with a story and a picture in the paper about her and the, John Coleman's autograph. Yeah,
Gee,
it's nice.
I don't know what's worth more money, Marcus, that autograph book or Hawk's bloody Star Wars collection. But we've seen some collectibles tonight.
Yeah.
Line Paul.
Yeah,
Probably
so
my
this
Star
is
Wars collection. I
certainly
suppose.
one of my treasures now.
Let's talk about other clubs, boys.
Oh,
It's very early in the season, obviously. But
I've been waiting for this.
But who's the player that you love from another club? So it's not a catter, but who's the one that you secretly have a little man crush on? Lead the way, Marcus.
All right. Well, I'm not going to steal his thunder because
No, you can go and say it. Do it.
No, it's all right. I've got a couple of others, but my first choice was the one Scotty's going to go with. But I'm a big fan of Isaac Heaney. I just really like the way he plays. He's hard at it. He's skillful. And footballers are always helped if they've got, the hair, something that makes them stand out. But I've always really liked him. And the other one he's going to become a favourite. And I watched him today, is Nasiah Wanganeen-Miller.
Oh,
He
incredible.
is a star. He's a genuine star and has that something, you just think, wow, did I just see what I saw? Sort of look to him. I really liked him and looking forward to just watching him for years to come.
I believe that's Ness. Well, yeah, I Max Gawn, I just was in awe of his game today. He, he took Tom De Koning, and Tom De Koning ran out there today with a fair bit of pressure on his shoulders, to be fair. So you feel for the boy a bit, but, at the end of the day, when you're getting 1.6 million, you've got to wear that pressure. But geez, Max Gawn absolutely just turned him inside out and flogged him. Didn't come off the ground in the whole last quarter. Max Gawn just rucked the whole game and was instrumental in the win. Like, got him over the line. He is an absolute champion. He's probably the best ruckman we've seen since Simon Madden. I'm going to put that out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What about you, Hawk?
100%.
Well, I don't tend to know too many players in another
have to
club.
watch the game.
If you guys could tell me a Geelong player that has been given the arse from the Cats and who's actually doing fairly well elsewhere, if you can think of them,
Clark looked okay
Jordan
for
Clark.
Freo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Freo, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll pick him. There's a Freo guy yesterday that I thought, gee, he looks pretty good. Young fella, probably in his first season. Tracy, I hadn't sort of seen him before. And then the commentator said he'd been around for a few years. So I thought, oh, well, that's another one that slipped by me. But otherwise, one I can think of, Harris Andrews. I think he's just a really good player.
Oh, he's a
And
star.
as I said last week, he's old school defender, but just very,
Yeah.
very good. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Ronnie,
And
who's
I'm
yours
sorry-
before I've got an
sorry.
honourable mention, but go first, Ronnie.
Well, firstly, I'm sorry about that. That I'm going to insult your heritage, Hawk. But Harris Andrews looks ridiculous in maroon, but everyone does. Look. This guy's not a young man, but I just love him. Petrarca.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. He's
He's a
gonna
star.
have an amazing year. He's at the
Gosh.
right place now. It's just awesome. Who's your
Yeah. I love the
He-
fact
he-
that he's gotten over all the drama and the horrible year he's had at Melbourne, and now he's just looking like the player he was.
Yeah.
Superstar.
I've mentioned this a couple of times. He trained at my wife's work right through the summer with her, and so she got to speak to him quite a bit, and he brought his cookbook in and signed it for her. He's apparently just a lovely human being, humble, kind. He's got time for all the kids, time for everyone. So you really do like to see nice things happen for good people. Can I get a special mention to the Fremantle ruckman, Sean Darcy, who honestly looked like he was 3 months pregnant, running around out there in that jumper yesterday. I love anyone who can get around a football ground with his mud guts hanging out, and good for you, Sean Darcy.
Is he the
I
number
used to
4
make
I
those
mentioned
jokes
before?
about Motlop. Remember Motlop
Yeah.
played for us? I loved him,
Yeah.
but he always looked like he'd had a couple of 4 and 20s on the way to the field.
That's also how I looked when I played, and so maybe there's an affinity there.
Yeah, yeah. And I'd kill to be only that chubby. The mailbag, we await your mail, the cat pack at myyahoo.com, also on Insta and Facebook. Marcus, back to the quiz. It was a triple quiz question.
There was some mail on the Spotify, because listeners can also leave comments and mail on our Spotify account, the Cat Pack Spotify. So there's a couple of messages there. One from somebody in Adelaide who talked about, the cats would be quaking in their boots at the thought of the crows, which made me laugh because Adelaide are a rabble. Anyway, there was that.
Nice.
Right.
So there was some mail this week.
They did beat Collingwood yesterday, and Collingwood had a good win the week before.
Beating Collingwood, that's like being the skinny bloke standing next to Sean Darcy. Is that really that impressive?
Before we get to the quiz question answers, mate, I'm surprised nobody said Toby Green. I really like Toby Green.
Oh, I love him.
Yeah.
He's a thug and I hate him.
I love
We
him.
got 2 for and 2 against if you're watching the YouTube version.
Yeah.
But
I'm with Ronnie.
He's Jess's best mate, Ronnie.
Is he?
Yeah, they're best mates. That's got to carry
is
some
it?
weight, doesn't it?
Don't waver.
Well, it hurts my soul, honestly.
Oof.
It's funny when you say that. It doesn't make me think more of Toby Green. It makes me think less of Jez. Yeah, it hurts. That really hurts. Back to your quiz question, Marcus. So you gave us the 3-banger, but you're only going to give us answers to 2 of them because the third is the listener question.
So the first question was, Freo kicked 8-4 against us, the biggest score we've had kicked against us at Cardinia Park in a first quarter for a very long time. What year was it that we conceded a score bigger than that? And it was a Geelong grand final year, so that narrows it down a bit.
All right. If it had been a premiership year, he would have said a premiership year, but he said a grand final year. Now, they lost a few grand finals.
Quite a
I'm
few.
gonna-
yeah.
I'm going to go with 1967 when we got
Okay.
robbed against Richmond by the umpiring.
And you would be spot on correct. Well done, Scotty.
Boom.
Oh, it was
yeah.
just a random guess.
Well
Well
done.
played, sir.
Yep,
Yes.
well done.
Right.
67. So how's that? That's
67, as the kids would say.
57 years or 59 years.
Yeah,
Biggest
wow.
score we've conceded. So that was impressive by Fremantle. Shame for them that their final 3
But doesn't that
quarters
sum, honestly, doesn't that sum, and this is going out to Broady and to a few of our mates who follow the Fremantle Dockers, doesn't that sum their club up? They can come out and have a first quarter like that and still get done. They are the epitome of failure.
I'm going to have some some apologies to make to a few mates, but that's okay. All right. Second question was, we came from 35 down, won by 10 points. At what stage of the game was the last goal kicked? This really surprised me when I saw it, when I worked it out. So how late into the game was the last goal kicked?
The fact that we're asking that question, yeah, it means it's a few minutes out, I reckon.
Yeah. Sean Manor blew a few chances. That took up some time.
I know you love to ride the Sean Manor hobby horse, but he wasn't the only one. Jezza missed.
Jezza missed, yeah.
DeConing, Ollie Dempsey missed.
Yes. There's a few misses.
Uh,
Has anyone got a minute? Do you want the minute mark of the last quarter? How many minutes to go or the minute mark?
Well, Freo didn't kick one in the last quarter either, so that rules them out. So I'm sure it's early in the last quarter.
Yeah, so the minutes and seconds, but how many minutes to go was there when the last goal was kicked?
I'm going to say 20.
I'm going to say 8.
Right. Hawk?
I'll say 12.
And we'll split the difference between you two. 10 minutes 43. So there was still nearly 11 minutes left when the last goal was kicked. And then they added a couple more points and we added 4 more points in the last 10 minutes. So both teams had chances. In fact, a guy, this is quite interesting. There's a guy who I used to work with. His name is Craig, and he was famous. Every week he would put on Facebook, first to 100 usually wins. Like when the Cats, he was a big Cats fan. When they get to 100 points, he'd say first to 100 usually wins, because that is a maxim in football. And Fremantle had 2 chances to get to 100 first, 2 set shots at goal, missed them both. And then we were the ones who got to 100 first. The sad part of the story is that Craig died a few months ago, had a massive stroke and just dropped dead. Well, he didn't drop dead, but he died after. It was horrible. And I was thinking of Craig the whole time yesterday. First to 100 usually wins. And yeah, it was really quite poignant for me. But yeah, nearly 11 minutes out and no more goals kicked. So,
wow.
Speaking of that, Marcus, I sat watching the replay this morning with my son, and the thing that we both commented on was that it was really great that the Cats, at no point did they they were 10 points up or 8 points up, whatever they were, but there's no point that they sort of tried to chip it around or save the game. They kept attacking that whole right up until the end. They kept on trying to score more goals. Which was, I really enjoyed seeing that, because often in that scenario, a club will just try to ice the game and hold onto the ball. So good work,
and
Chris
sometimes
Scott.
it backfires too. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, their commitment to scoring is just like Lockie Neal. It's my third and final, I promise.
It's all right. I made a Mormon Wives joke.
All right. The listener's question for all you fans out there: what did yesterday's game, the Geelong Fremantle game, have in common with the 2009 and 2011 grand finals? Something particular that it reminded me of them.
He throws that word fans around real loosely, doesn't he, Ronnie?
Oh, yeah, very loosely. Yeah, he could have said to both of you, what do you think?
To Mum and my brother Peter, what do you reckon?
To the residents of Nil.
You underestimate the reach of the Cat Pack, you boys.
Nice.
Very good.
Well, thank you for spending some time with us. The podcast that was runner-up in the Oscar for Outstanding Achievement in, wait, are the mics on? We're the greatest team of all, celebrating the greatest team of all, the Cat Pack. Till next time.
All right.
See you, boys.
Yeah.
We're blue and white, there's not a doubt. We play the game to win. A team that knows commitment, that's the way it's always been. We rise up to the challenge, we give the game our all. With sheer determination, we go in for the ball. When the crowd thunders, go Cats, we break the banner down. We know they'll play with courage till the final siren sounds. And the rival team will know that they've been run down by a pack. But you're beaten by, defeated by the Cats. In a cat attack, go Cats. A cat attack, Geelong. A cat attack, go Cats. A cat attack, Geelong. In a cat attack, go Cats. A cat attack, Geelong. A cat attack, go Cats. A cat attack, Geelong. screaming out for more. You can feel the pressure rising, you can hear the whole town roar. When the crowd thunders, go Cats, we break the banner down. We know they'll play with courage till the final siren sounds, and the rival team will know that they've been run down by a pack. When they're beaten by, defeated by a cat.